Hey everybody.
What's going on, world?
How are you? How you doing? How you been?
Are you talking to me or you talking to the world?
I'm talking to both of y'all.
Oh, I'm living life, living the American dream.
That's awesome. I hope everybody else is too. Well, this is your girl Dani.
And this is your guy TJ.
And this is yet another episode of Lovers Quarrel.
Yes, it is. Episode number 19.
I'm glad you're keeping track because I could not remember.
Title to be determined. TBD.
Throwback. So, I guess we can just jump right into it unless you have something that you've got pressing on your mind, babe.
Nah, I don't.
Okay. So, as I was saying, we can get started with our vent of the week. Do you have a vent? Because I have something to say, but it's not a vent.
My vent is going to be... Hold on. I took a screenshot of it so that way I can try to remember it. So there was a 4-year-old who was murdered by his mother's boyfriend. And this is like the third or fourth story I've heard in like the last, let's say 2-3 weeks. And my vent is just, you can't have everybody around your kids. You know? The kids didn't ask to be here. So once they are in the world, you gotta take care of them. It's no longer about yourself. And I'm tired of hearing about, you know, the boyfriend beat the child because the child had a tantrum or the child wasn't listening or whatever the case may be. It's never that serious. It's never that serious. And it's just ridiculous that it keeps on happening. But this story, and there was another one that happened recently, and you know the mothers act like they didn't know, or you know whatever the case may be. I mean, it just comes back to you can't just leave your kids with any and everybody. And my vent is just that, like, if you're not ready to be a parent, don't be a parent. It's not going to save your relationship. It's not going to do anything. Like, if you're going to have a child, understand that your life is going to change. Understand that it's no longer about yourself. And if you know that, then you'll be able to move forward. But if you're having it thinking that you're still going to be going out and you could just drop your child off with just anybody, then you shouldn't be a parent at all.
I definitely understand that, and I just feel like, you know, even before, but especially now, like now that we are parents ourselves, like anytime I hear about the abuse or hurt, or in this case, death of a child because of like neglect or abuse, you know, my like initial reaction is always like, everybody gotta die. Like, God forbid if that was Tatum, like everybody's going down, guns blazing, because you're just not going to think that you're even capable of doing that to my child, and then to let somebody, and then but to them to also be like the mother, and then basically like your significant other is the one doing it and you're just standing by. How does that even happen? And I do understand sometimes like they're abused themselves and there's that whole additional layer to it, but in those situations though,
when you're a parent, you know, there's a lot of stuff I said as a parent I wouldn't do. And then I've done it because I was a parent. You know what I mean? Like, I would never suck snot out of my child's nose. When you see your child can't breathe, not can't breathe, but when you see your child, like, struggling, you do what you got to do as a parent, period.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary.
You know, I get it. You could be abused, but I just feel like your instincts come in. Like, I have to protect this child. So, I can get my ass beat all I want. But if you touch my child, then everything else goes out the window. There's just no excuses.
Yeah. Well, that definitely sucks. And
yep. So that's my vent.
Yeah. And like I said, well, my non-vent is so opposite end of the spectrum from what you were just talking about.
Sometimes you gotta be opposite.
Yeah, so, I mean, maybe, you know, yours is kind of dark, but mine could be light. So, I don't even have a vent for this week because all things considered, like, my week has been pretty decent. Not perfect in every area, but it's definitely not been the most awful experiences or whatever. And that's in part due to the fact that this week, or I guess the end of last week, we were blessed with some new music from Drake, your fave, and from Cardi B. And quite honestly, like, listening to their music has put me in a pretty decent mood all this week. You played Nice for What about 15,000 times when we were getting ready for Tatum's party on Saturday.
Yeah, you got to get the streams up.
And I love that song. Like, it's got Big Frida in it, and I love Big Frida. I love New Orleans bounce music because I love New Orleans.
It doesn't make bad music.
And you got the X Factor clip in there, and it was just like, yeah, like, nice for what to these niggas for what? Like, I see, just a basically a female empowerment anthem. And then you got Cardi, who is having the best year and a half ever, 2 years ever. And, every song on her album I don't love, but I definitely have, like, several that I like a lot. And I'm happy for her. Like, go Cardi and do your thing and prosper and thrive. Also, another note, like, did give Nikki's new stuff a listen. Not as enthusiastic about it. It just kind of didn't really move me, but doesn't mean that it won't be something else that's coming down the pipe that I will be, like, way more into. But
I wasn't a big fan of it. And then her interviews and her talking about it, like, you don't got to talk about people, Nikki. You at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to take it from, you got to take something from like Drake's book. Like, I'm not going to talk about you. I'm going to talk about everybody.
You think she feels threatened?
She could. Or, well, I mean, all the subs and sneak dissing and...
Yeah, I'm not one
like, you can't call yourself the queen of rap and you still subbing. And plus, I don't know. Maybe it's just my mood. Like, we too old for this shit. Like...
Yeah, I guess so.
Cardi B's the underdog. People want to see her win.
Yeah.
Like, she's the Cinderella story.
Facts.
She's that team who got into the NCAA tournament and no one thought was gonna win.
Wild card.
And she just keep winning, and it's just like, you can't hate on that. You can't. That's my biggest thing. She may not be the best rapper or whatever, but you can't take away from seeing somebody win. Like, it's the dopest feeling, I feel like, to see somebody win and, like, really win. It's dope.
Yeah, and she worked hard for it. Like, I think that's the thing. Like, she worked hard for it. She came from nothing to something, and now she's living her best life, and she's got the best time of her life ahead of her with having a child and celebrating her album. So I just feel like, and for those reasons, like, it came through the music. So if I felt some type of way, I started bumping Drake, I started bumping Cardi, and I was instantly in a little bit of a better mood. So that is why I don't have a vent, because of Belle Collis and Aubrey, because they made quality music that I could listen to and rock out to. So that's where I stand on that. I hope y'all accept me for that event, and or hope you got something from it, even though it wasn't really anything for me to complain about. Are we good on events, babe?
Well, I went, and then you went, so...
I don't know. I'm making sure you ain't have no loose ends that you wanted to tie up. That's all.
No, typically it's one person go, one person go.
You're right. Hold the side of sarcasm. All right. So now it is time for the relationship tip of the week. And this week's relationship tip is actually to have a good relationship with yourself, because you're no good to anybody if you're not good with yourself. So I was reading an article, and it was saying, and of course now wherever the tab is not pulling up, but essentially what it was saying though is just that, like, in a relationship, you focus on your significant other. There absolutely should be focus on that person and their needs and what needs to be met, but then you also have to make sure that you carve out enough time for yourself to express your own interests, to follow, complete goals of your own that are just personal to you, or even just to like spend time by yourself in a that's not like not in an isolating manner, because having a good relationship with yourself, knowing who you are, being comfortable with who you are, ultimately makes you a better companion to somebody else. So yeah, that's the relationship tip of the week, is to learn how to have a good relationship with yourself, and not just in the biblical sense, but like mentally, spiritually, etc., etc. Thoughts?
I agree. I think you gotta love yourself first. You gotta care about yourself first. You're only as good as you are to yourself. That you only be as good in a relationship based on how good you are to yourself. So
Definitely, it's real easy to lose sight of that, but it's really important.
that's correct. And you hear our dog in the background, so
She's thirsty.
obviously.
Listen, dogs gotta drink and eat. Well, we are gonna push right along, and now we got a letter. I was going through the inbox and I found this one, and I thought this was kind of like, we've talked about obviously all types of relationship questions, but this one has something specifically to do with like marriage and engagements and stuff like that. So I'll read it off, especially because this is an area where you and I have been through. So it says, "Dear Lovers Quarrel, I got engaged to my fiance about a month ago, and I am already dealing with engagement/wedding drama, and I could use some insight. Here's the deal. Not long after my fiance proposed, I, of course, received plenty of well wishes from friends and family. Cool. However, my aunt and cousin expressed that they were upset that they were not invited to the proposal." I wonder if anybody else was there. Okay, so now...
What?
I was thinking to myself, I was like, I wonder if anybody, like, they were upset that they weren't invited. I got to keep reading to see, because I'm like, was it just her and the fiance, or was it like a bunch of people there? So I was kind of thinking out loud while I was reading, my bad. So she says, "Now, I was born and raised in Florida, but I live in DC, so it's not like they could have even made it up here. My fiance did not purposely leave them off the invitation. He did exactly what I would have wanted, which was to have my parents present, but not everyone else in my extended family." Okay, that answers my inquiry from before. "But they're so butthurt that my aunt isn't even speaking to my dad, who's her whole entire brother." So my question for you guys is, how do I address my aunt and cousin? I am seeing them in a couple of weeks when I fly down, and I don't want there to be drama, but at the same time, I don't think it's cool that they're making me feel guilty and giving my dad the silent treatment too. What should I do? Signed, I just can't. So, a couple of things to unpack there, but do you have an immediate stance on this type of letter, babe, or what?
Depends on how close you are with your family, but I mean, listen. Anybody who's been married or been proposed to, you're always going to miss somebody. Somebody's always going to be in their feelings, and you can't care about that. Fuck them.
Well,
you got to love yourself. So if you were happy, if you went through your engagement and you said, "This is perfect, everybody I wanted here is here," then you can't feel bad. You can't feel bad. So that's my thing. I would address your aunt and cousin by saying, "I had no idea. It was a surprise for myself. And I can't make my fiance invite y'all."
Yeah, and I guess that's maybe where the dad, like her not speaking to, like the aunt not speaking to the dad comes in, because it's like, oh, well, you know, it's because her dad was there. So it's like, well, why didn't my brother tell me, you know?
Because you weren't invited. It wasn't about you.
Exactly. I agree.
Be happy for the engagement. Now, if it was a wedding and you didn't get invited, it's different. But it's an engagement. Not everybody wants to go to an engagement.
I agree. And I fully agree with everything that you were saying. I think that, it just kind of, this reminds me of like when we got engaged and when we were planning our wedding, which is that there's always going to be people who have like want to put their 2 cents in, and it's talking about how they feel about something, or how they might have felt slighted. Like, we didn't have it too crazy, but there were some instances there where people kind of like, at least on my side of things, where people,
I don't remember
I do. There was a couple instances where people kind of were in their feelings about roles that weren't assigned to them, and
sounds like a personal problem to me.
Well, yeah, and I get that, and so, but
like it's either you're gonna come or you're not gonna come. It's either you're gonna be happy for me or you're not gonna be happy for me.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't dwell on it. I would say I just can't. Were you satisfied?
Yeah.
If it was everything you wanted, your cousin doesn't matter. They're just gonna have to get over it because at the end of the day, it's about you.
Yeah. And I think it's just like, but be prepared that though, it's like, it might be a sign of things to come, which is like people will have things to say. It is. But don't let that impede you and your fiance's wedding planning or time to enjoy being engaged, because if you let what everybody else feels influence how you guys move with this wedding, you're going to regret it, because it's y'all day. It's about you two. And the hell whatever anybody else has to say. And when you see them in a couple of weeks, if it comes up, which I'm sure it will, because it probably will be the elephant in the room, you just need to let them know, like, listen, like TJ said, I didn't plan my engagement. I didn't know that this was about to happen when it happened, but I do know is that it was everything I wanted it to be. And not to say that I didn't want you there, but it's just that my fiance moved off of the information that I provided him, or as we talked. And and you really need to just be happy for me.
Or ask more details.
Mm-hmm.
What if it was a private event and it was limited amount of seats?
Mm-hmm.
So now his family can't come because our aunt and cousin want to come? Like,
no, I get it.
I just feel like as people, we have to do better. And it's not... Everybody wants to be included. And sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're not welcome. Sometimes you're just not included. You weren't thought of. And it's nothing personal.
It's just not. You're not a part of that
also,
equation.
what is your track record? Do you come to all my stuff? You know what I mean? Like,
do y'all speak often?
Are you always around?
Yeah.
Do I talk about you enough because all my major, accomplishments, you were there?
Mm-hmm.
If so, then that's different. But if you're just my aunt and my cousin, who I see on the holidays or every so often, if we don't talk every day or at least once a week,
yeah,
then no.
I think I agree. Like, I think you just
I wouldn't dwell on it.
Yeah, I just I just can't. I would take it for what it's worth. Don't, like he said, TJ said, don't dwell on it. When you see them in a couple of weeks, address it head on, so that way it's like you're set. I will say this.
I wouldn't address it head on.
I would say address it, because I would be like, you don't want them to think that this is something that they can do, like a recurring issue, where it's like every time they take issue with something with the wedding location or the bridal party and it's just like
her dad needs to address it. That's not her problem.
But they're bringing it to her.
No, they haven't brought it to her, right?
No, they have. They did bring it to her, because they said that so, like, I mean, it obviously was communicated to her one way or the other, that like some of them were upset that they weren't invited to her proposal, and like,
yeah, but it didn't say that they said something to her. It just said that they were butthurt, and that that the aunt isn't speaking to the father.
Oh. But I mean, if these people are going to be butthurt over that, they're probably the type that's going to try like. So
my thing is that if they bring it to you, then yes, you can say whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't bring it to you, if you see them and they're high and they're all huggy, I'm not saying nothing.
Really?
Why?
Because I feel like I would talk to them.
Why address the situation if you weren't going to bring it? Have the same energy. So if you have the energy not to fuck with my father, then when you see me, have the same energy. Hey, I'm mad at you, but hey, and then we can talk. But if you come in and you greet me, you hug me, and it's all lovey-dovey, I'm gonna continue moving. I'm not gonna give you the energy.
Yeah, see, and for me, I would think like, okay, I'm gonna address this head on or whatever, because my thing is I'm gonna set the precedence. Like, this is not gonna be a recurring theme as I go through my entire wedding planning process. So you're gonna respect me. You're gonna understand that whatever decisions I make
for you.
Huh?
They didn't bring it to you.
But she knows about it, is what I'm saying.
I get that. We know about a lot of things.
Okay.
You may hear something through pillow talking. So now you're gonna address something that wasn't
no,
directly
not
to
necessarily. But then what if it becomes like, let's say hypothetically, it gets to the point where like it's brought up in like mixed company or something like that.
What do you mean?
Like if they're at a family function and like the fact that
family function can't be mixed company.
Not mixed company in the sense that like it's I guess what I mean is like, what if there's somewhere with like family and then what I just can't knows comes to light or like is repeated, so now it's okay for her to know, you know what I mean? It's okay, it's like now she's officially heard what it is.
Yeah, but
wouldn't she want to get out in front of it and be like, listen, this is the test, the precedent that I'm setting.
If I heard it, then I can address it. But if I didn't hear it and I see you and you don't bring it up, why am I going to bring it up? Why am I going to give you the satisfaction to say anything? You saw me. You didn't bring it up, so now I'm just going to bring it up out of nowhere. It's like a teacher who told classmates, "I'm gonna give this student an F or whatever," and then when you see them, they're like, "You're doing a great job. You're going to pass this class." Why am I going to bring that up? Why am I going to go head on and say, "Hey, I heard"? You're making it bigger than what it is. You are giving life to something personally. That's just my personal thing. Okay. And maybe my teacher analogy wasn't the best example, but I'm just saying, if someone has fire for you and they keep the fire, then that's different. But if they have fire with your relative, with your father, with your brother, with your sister, with anybody, but when they see you, they don't have the same fire. They really don't want that fire. They chose who they wanted that fire for, and they knew not even to bring it to you. That's just the way I see it. I'm not giving anybody satisfaction ever.
Okay, well, hopefully that helped a little bit. Like they have that perspective. I'm kind of a get out in front of it perspective on some things, but hopefully that's a little bit helpful. What I will say is that don't be alarmed if this is the first of several things to come.
All I'm going to say is you are spending your money for your perfect day and your fiance's perfect day. And when you're spending your money, you make the rules. You pick and choose who you want there, why you want them there, and you're paying for that. So say that to say, if anybody has an issue, you can say, listen, it's $100 a plate. You really want to come? Send me $100 and you will get your plate. And then see. But other than that, if I invite you, it's a privilege. That means I really wanted you there and I wanted to pay for you to be there. But if I did not invite you because I had to choose between you and another relative, or you and my coworker, and you and somebody else, that's my choice. And what you have to understand is that I'm paying for it. And once you get that mindset, if they don't invite you to their whatever, to their wedding or their whatever they're having, you should then go back to this and be like, I understand. Not everything's personal. But
and this wasn't even her decision. Like, I mean, it was her. Like, it was what she expressed, but it wasn't like it was her doing the planning. Yeah, it's not even the wedding.
It wasn't the wedding. It wasn't the engagement party. It was the proposal.
Yeah,
I proposed to you with just me and you.
Yeah,
because that's how I wanted to do it. It had nothing to do with anything else. I didn't care to do it with a whole bunch of people. It just wasn't what I wanted to do. And if someone felt some type of way about that, that's how they felt. You know? Were you content with it?
Oh, yeah.
Then that's all that matters. Like, I'm just saying, we only get one life to live. And because we only get one life to live, we can't do things for other people. And people are going to say things always. Oh, somebody always is going to have something to say. We
can't be hung up on that.
But one of us is going to be uncomfortable.
It's never going to be
me. So.
Well, Glad that that mantra still sticks. I just can't. I hope that helped. I know me and TJ kind of went all the way around and back again with it, but hopefully you got something from that as far as how to handle this first situation since being engaged. And congratulations on getting engaged. Mazel tov.
Congratulations and all that good shit.
L'chaim. All that good stuff.
And we're going to go to a break. And here's a message from our sponsors.
Hey friend, it's time for you to ditch those workout gloves and get the grip and wrist support you deserve. What do you suggest? You need to get the Gainz Load and Lock grips by Gainz Sports Gear. They are more durable than gloves, have a non-slip grip pad that provides grip support and added wrist support unlike your traditional workout gloves, and will protect your hands from calluses. Do they come in different colors? Not only do they come in different colors, but they are available for men and women. Do yourself a favor, go to GainSportsGear.com. And remember, a better grip equals a better lift. Embrace the process.
Yes, embrace the process. To get 10% off your first order using the code LOVERS10. And now, back to the show.
All right, everybody, and we are back. And already it's time for that Lovers Quarrel. Ding, 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 ding. Fight. I'm blanking. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. Get over here. What else am I adding to it? Is it Ali Boomae? Ali Boomae? Every week you're gonna get something. So we're gonna the show's gonna ultimately get really long as I add on to this every week.
It wasn't even believable.
I wasn't really.
No, it's pretty.
It was a little dry?
It wasn't a little. It's a lot of dry. I mean, it's corny anyway, but it was just...
Especially dry just now?
Yeah. I mean, but listen, be great.
Oh, well, my apologies if you felt like my intro was a little dry. I'll make sure it's a little bit more... There's more pep to it next week. But, you know, I'm committed to the role. So even if it is a little dry, I'm going to still get it done because it deserves its right.
I'm going to learn how to get soundboards, and once I learn how to do the soundboards,
I'm gonna cut me out.
Nice with it. What?
I said you just gonna cut me out.
I mean, listen, I'm gonna have to do what I have to do to make sure this thing works right. But
I think that people, the listeners, enjoy it. I think you just are a hater.
Hating on what?
My vocal abilities.
Vocal ability to do what?
Make sound effects before we move into the Lovers Quarrel segment.
I mean, listen. I'm just saying, based off of what I heard, you know, it just wasn't amazing. But listen, to each his own. I just want you to be great.
Well, thank you.
You know?
All right. You actually ready for the quarrel?
Sure. What is the quarrel for this week? So
the quarrel this week is I think you were reading an article or something, or we were listening to somebody else, and they were talking about, it was Wheezy. So we were listening to, I think, her Insta story or something, and I think she was reading an article, and it was like the average couple has sex 51 times.
Shout out to Wheezy from Horrible Decisions.
Hey Wheezy, how you doing? And hey Mandy, can't shout out one without the other. And
shout out to Mandy as well.
So I think she was saying that like the average couple in the United States has sex 51 times a year on an average, which equates out to once a week. And that made me think like, okay, well then what? I feel like me and you probably would have differing opinions on this. And so the question or quarrel of the week is, how often should couples expect each other to have sex? So I think, well, I don't know. Let me, what are you thinking?
No, this is your quarrel, so I'm just going with it. I would love to hear what you have to say.
Well, I think that when I heard the national average, I'm like...
It says the average, yeah, I'm looking something else. It says the average adult enjoys sex 54 times a year, or a little more than once a week.
I feel like that makes sense. I think that like, now...
Where? That makes sense where?
I think that makes sense for like when I think about like the average person in their day-to-day lives and stuff like that. I think that like that average of like once a week makes sense as far as like, that sounds like a plausible amount. I'm not saying that it's like ideal, but I'm saying though it's like, okay, I get where they're going with that. Okay. I think that couples should have sex as often as they like, but I think that like, you know, I think in the best case scenario, I feel like 2 to 3 times a week would be great. Like once you're kind of like past that honeymoon phase where you're just like going at it like rabbits. But, you know, weekly isn't awful. What do you think? You think it's like that's the horrible worst thing you ever heard?
Listen, weekly's not horrible. Then I think it's horrible.
So how often do you feel like couples should have sex?
Like every other day.
Every other, so 3 to 4 times a week.
Sometimes 5 times.
Okay, and where are you going to exercise?
I just think it just depends on, you know, your age.
I agree.
And yeah. Like, I just think that 1 time a week is like crazy. It's like,
I mean, how is it? But why is it crazy? I mean, if it's the national average, how is it crazy?
So there's 7 days in a week, and it's like you only have sex 1 time in 7 days, every 7 days. So in a month, you only have sex 4 times, and then people wonder why men cheat.
No, men cheat because they want to cheat.
That's definitely not.
Men
why.
cheat like there's men who are probably happy to have sex once a week.
Listen, if he's happy to have sex once a week, he's probably happy to have sex once a week with you.
I disagree with that. I don't think that just because they're not getting it in all the time that automatically means that he's trying to get it from someplace else. Because I feel like that speaks to, first of all, you're generalizing all men, and second of all, like that speaks to
my favorite movie.
Oh my God, I hate this movie just because
I think I love my wife.
Yeah, and the hell with that movie.
Why?
Because
it makes so much sense.
He was wrong.
He wasn't wrong.
He was wrong.
He was not wrong.
He was wrong. If he wasn't happy, he should have left, not shot, like not almost cheated, or basically cheated because he still kissed her. His character kissed Kerry Washington's character.
Gosh.
He almost had sex with her. He was
right, and then
he was definitely emotionally cheating, which in some people's cases is arguably worse.
But
because his wife works hard and is raising their kids. And
so if you're raising kids and you're working hard, that means that you can neglect your husband.
No, I'm not saying neglect.
That's what you're saying.
I'm not saying neglect, but I'm saying it's just that it makes sense because you're working hard on raising the kids. That's why it makes sense for it might be only once a week.
I think people make time for what they want. Period.
I think people make. I do think that people make time for what they want to, but there's also like there is just time constraints that you can't even really avoid.
How is that?
How is what?
How's the time constraints?
Because there's only 24 hours of the day, but yet people are expected to accomplish so much in such a short period of time every day.
How much time do people spend on social media?
Some people spend a lot of time. Some people spend no time.
All that social media time, could you have sex?
Some people, yeah.
Okay. How much time people play video games?
Well, I guess it depends on the person.
Okay. Ultimately, if you wanted to do it, you make time for it. I just think once a week is like I'm doing it because it's once a week.
Well, I don't but I think that like it depends on the couple. Like I think it really just depends because like they there could be couples who are like, yeah, once a week is fine. Like, you know, as long as we can spend some time together and be intimate, like we're good in between each ones or whatever. Or maybe they're not taking into consideration like things like other types of sex that could exist, like not just strictly
other types of sex,
like oral, like that type of stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking sex just period. I mean, listen.
Oh, like all encompassing.
If you can get oral, then you know what I mean. That may be what you can get. I just think there shouldn't be a number. There should be something that a couple decide on, and then I think you should work towards it. Relationships get boring, and shit like that because we're putting times on it. Like it shouldn't be like, damn, it's the 6th day. I gotta meet the quota, like, and that's why like relationships get stale, and that's why I think people cheat. I think it's because.
So what's your number? What's your sweet spot? Like,
It depends on the week. Once a week is definitely
not enough
for me, but I just think that when you're getting married and you're in relationships, you should have these conversations. You should know, what a deal breaker is. Because you're right. It may not be a deal breaker for somebody. One time may be okay. Mm-hmm. But he may also be cheating. So
I don't think it's a fair correlation. I think that couples should have as much sex as they want. I will say this. Sex is important. Sex is necessary in an intimate relationship with a significant other.
So what if it's once a week, but the guy saying, I need more, and the woman is saying, I can't, or whatever?
They have to find some type of compromise.
What if she doesn't want to compromise?
And what if he doesn't want to compromise? But then they shouldn't be together. Like, I think that it's just like you can't, like, you have to compromise it. Or I think it's just like, I think we're looking at the survey that I brought up in the beginning. I think we're looking at it too, like, once a week, like every Tuesday, this is what we do. Versus where it's like, it kind of ebbs.
There are couples out there who do that.
There is. But there's also like, there's couples where like ebbs and flows. Like, what if those 51 or 54 sessions during the year that, maybe there was like 3 weeks where nothing happened because there was so much going on or somebody was out of town for work or whatever, and then when they came back they like got it in like 3-4 times that week, 1 week. That means something, because that just means that like, okay, you were making the effort that that happened. But it is not, and like, it's not selfish or wrong for it to be only like a certain amount. Now, if you think 4 is your number and 1 is your number, then clearly you guys gotta come to a meeting of minds. But at the same time, it's like, couples should have sex, but I think they need to decide what often is for them. I don't think that it could be like a cookie cutter outcome, because one couple once a week could be cool and nobody's cheating, but for another couple 2 times a week, and another couple 3 times a week, and then you guys, maybe if you have some nymphos, then that's whatever, and then that's as much as you can get. But I think it's just like, it has to be kind of like a ballpark figure, an agreed upon thing where, you work hard to you work together to like figure out what it is that area, like if it's a conversation that has to happen because it's not happening, because the quota, whatever, of the week is not being met organically, then you have the conversation. But then, you come to an agreement on what works best for y'all. But I don't think that if you have sex 1 time a week, that's going to push your husband to cheat, because I feel like that's bullshit. Because if he was going to cheat, he's going to cheat regardless of however.
Not necessarily.
So, cheating is like opportunistic. So
you're saying that a man, well, I'm not saying man. You're saying that a person won't. You're saying a person only cheats because it's because it's opportunity.
I didn't say that people cheat only because it's an opportunity. I'm saying
you said it's opportunistic.
Well, I get, because you're taking advantage. I guess I'm saying it's like people cheat, or at least from what I can tell, like men cheat or people cheat because there are opportunities to cheat presented to them. Like basically, like what's the thing that Chris Rock says, like you're only as faithful as your options or something like that. Or maybe I'm getting them kind of mixed up, but like So
you're saying that if someone has options to cheat, then they're going to cheat.
Not necessarily.
If someone doesn't have options to cheat, they won't cheat.
No, that isn't what I meant. What I mean is that I don't think that if they were going to cheat, if a person wants to cheat, they're going to find a reason to cheat. If it's not how often they have sex, it's going to be, well, she doesn't cook, or he doesn't do this.
I can't see somebody cheating based off of. I can't see someone cheating based off of she doesn't cook, so I'm gonna cheat.
Well, people. That's the thing, though. When people want to, and that's what I'm getting at. When people want to cheat, they're going to find any excuse in the book
there are
to do
like
so.
That, 100%. But there are also people who cheat based off of what they're not getting.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of like I want my cake and I want to eat it too, but it is like I don't want to lose everything else. Everything else is good, but this one area is lacking.
Okay. Well,
I mean, listen, when I think I love my wife, his issue was that they couldn't have sex.
Mm-hmm. Because she
because she had an excuse every night. Every night there was a reason why. Mm-hmm. So here he is working hard, and he starts fantasizing, and then he meets Kerry Washington character again, and she gave him something that his wife was not giving him.
Yeah. That emotional unavailability.
Listen.
I hate that movie. I hate that movie. Like, it's a good movie, but at the same time,
it's a great movie.
At the same time, it's like, it feels like it's like condoning bad behavior.
I don't think that's what he was doing. I think he was telling a story about what happens and what's real in the world, and it's up to you to make your own decision. The other guy, his coworker, cheated on his wife, and they've been happily married 15 years. Mm-hmm. She has no idea. So, saying like you said, people are going to cheat regardless, but to make it seem like if you're not willing to sacrifice your sleep or sacrifice your own personal want to satisfy your partner, mm-hmm. to think that the reason why they're deciding to cheat is because you didn't cook, I just don't agree with it. Or because the opportunity presented itself, so that's why they cheated. I don't agree with that. There are people like that, though. Mm-hmm. There are people who's going to cheat just to cheat, and typically those people, they're going to be serial cheaters. They're going to cheat every chance they get.
You gonna be Tristan third trimester Thompson?
I mean, listen.
As soon as his baby mother dilates, he's like, and I'm gone.
Well, listen. He showed you who he was. Sometimes you got to believe people when they show you who they are the first time. So
you get how you got them is how you lose them.
I don't feel bad for Chloe. So
I don't feel great for her, but I don't feel like awful.
You knew what you were getting into.
You right.
You knew what you were getting into. You can't be devastated. You can't date a drug dealer and then get devastated when they get 20 years. You knew what you were doing.
True. But doesn't make it hurt any less. Well, then, okay, let's do this. Before we wrap up the Lovers Quarrel, if you had to give a number, what is the number that you give how often couples should have sex? Go. A week.
Say 3 to 4. 3 to 4,
golly. All right. I say
0 to 1.
No, I say 2 to 3. I think 2 to 3 is healthy. And you say 3 to 4.
I think 3 to 4 is healthy.
Okay, well, see, look, there's a medium in there. Doesn't mean it's always gonna happen, but there's a medium in there. There's a middle ground, okay? But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Like, and I would love to hear what y'all have to say about this, because I know me and TJ probably never gonna see eye to eye totally on this topic, and we kind of digress with the cheating thing. But still, like, how often do you think couples should have sex? Like, established couples, not the ones in the honeymoon phase who are doing everything like humping like rabbits and stuff like that. But what do you think is the ideal number of times a week that a couple should be intimate, and so we can get a better idea of, like, okay, who's right, who's wrong, or not even who's right, who's wrong, who's more with TJ or who's more with Dan.
It's just gonna be a personal opinion.
Yeah, but what if like 1,000 people agree with you and only 2 people agree with me?
That's just how we think. Again, everybody wants and needs are different. That's just my personal feeling, but I also said it depends on the week. I have finals this week. I may not be in the mood. Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying, to say that one time a week is satisfactory, that's crazy to me. Unless you're like a doctor.
Maybe.
And you're working crazy hours, or if you got like 15 jobs and you only get 1 day of rest, then okay, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But if you work a 9 to 5 or whatever, and you can make opportunities to have sex, and you choose not to because of whatever, then
that's why people cheat.
It's one of the reasons.
Well, We'll see.
You can agree to disagree. I
definitely disagree. I definitely disagree, especially on the cheating part. Like, we're never going to see. I don't know.
We're not.
I think there's some people who are probably perfectly fine with it.
We should find some people who cheated, and ask them why they cheated. You know.
Yeah, I'm sure me and you could throw a rock and hit somebody, and not that far from there, because cheating seems like it's something that's rampant, especially like when people are younger. So I don't think it will be that difficult to find somebody who's either been cheated on or has done the cheating. So I'm sure we know some folks. So if our cheaters or people who were cheated on, if you want to tell us and give us your insight, please reach out to us. But I think we just need to wrap that up, because me and you, this is one of them quarrels where me and you can't even be like, oh, well, we'll agree to disagree.
That's the whole point of a quarrel. We can agree to disagree.
I mean, yeah, we can, but okay. Whatever.
So confused.
I maybe I'm confusing myself too, but it is the point of a quarrel. But me and you did, like, I didn't convince you and you didn't convince me in this one, so that's all. But it's all good. So that wraps up our lovers quarrel, because otherwise me and TJ will continue talking in circles. And I guess, yeah, let's wrap this sucker up.
Well, all right. Well, thank you for listening, and I'm your guy TJ, and please feel free to send us emails, loversquarrelshow@gmail.com. Follow us on IG, loversquarrelshow. Mm-hmm. And then on Twitter, loversquarrel7. And that's it.
Mm-hmm. And this is Dani, and we've got some, exciting things coming down the pipe for you guys. So just be on the lookout. But as always, this is Dani again, and that was TJ. And
she's tired.
I guess I am a little tired.
It's not that you. Is that a guess?
Well, I apologize. Please don't take it out on me or take it out on TJ. I apologize. But as always, we fuss.
We fight.
But we love. See you next week, guys. Bye.
Later.